So I want to start things off today with a pretty terrifying statistic.
Hmm. Go on.
7 seconds.
7 seconds for what?
That is apparently exactly how long you have to make a first impression. According to the research, you walk into a room,
Mm-hmm.
and before you've even managed to say hello, the other person's brain has already decided if you're competent, if they can trust you, and crucially, if they even like you.
It's brutal, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, the science really does back it up. There's this concept in psychology called thin slicing.
Thin slicing.
Yeah. It's the brain's ability to find patterns based on these tiny, narrow windows of experience.
So our brains are basically jumping to conclusions just to save time.
Exactly. It's an evolutionary thing. We judge fast to survive. But in the business world, that creates a filter. If you fail that thin slice test in those first seconds,
You're in trouble.
you're fighting an uphill battle. Everything you say after that is filtered through skepticism.
Well, we are not here to fight uphill battles. We're here to win them. Welcome back to another deep dive. This is The English Effect.
And today we're unpacking the science and the strategy of the business introduction.
We've gone through a stack of communication journals, business English guides, all of it, to build what is basically the ultimate cheat sheet for meeting people.
And we're not just teaching you how to say your name. We're looking at, the subtle grammar choices that signal authority and how to get through that awkwardness of small talk.
We're going to cover the difference between formal and informal, knowing when to be Mr. Wilson and when it's okay to be Mark.
And we'll give you the exact scripts for those high-pressure moments.
Okay, so let's start with the tool everyone claims to have, but honestly, very few people actually use correctly, the elevator pitch.
Ah, the classic scenario.
Yeah.
You step into an elevator, the CEO of your dream client gets in, you have about, 30 seconds?
30 seconds to justify your existence. Yeah. And the research highlights a huge trap people fall into here.
Let me guess. They start reciting their resume.
Exactly. They say, hi, I graduated in 2015, then I work here, then I did this.
And the CEO has completely zoned out by the third floor. Because here's the hard truth. They don't care about you yet.
Okay.
They care about what you can do for them.
So we need to shift the focus from our biography to our value. But this is where the language gets interesting, right? Depending on who you're talking to.
Right. We have to distinguish between an external introduction, so a client, a stranger, and an internal one, like meeting a colleague.
Let's start with external. You're at a conference, you meet someone new. The standard formula is greeting, name, I work for company.
Hi, I'm John. I work for Tech Solutions.
That sounds fine to me. Perfectly standard.
It is standard, but some of the sources argue it's low status. Saying I work for implies you're just, a worker, a cog in the machine.
Ouch. Okay, so what's the upgrade?
It's a subtle but powerful shift. You change the phrase to I'm with.
I'm with Tech Solutions.
I'm with. It implies partnership. It
Yeah.
implies you're a representative, not just an employee. It just sounds more confident.
That's a tiny tweak, but I can actually hear the difference. I work for sounds like you have a boss. I'm with sounds like you have a mission.
Exactly. But you can't just stop there. You have to explain what you do. And please, do not just give your job title.
So don't say I'm the manager.
No. Titles are so ambiguous. Manager could mean anything. Instead, use this formula. We specialize in, followed by a verb ending in ing.
Okay, let me try this. So instead of we sell software, which is boring,
Right. You would say, we specialize in helping businesses reduce their operational costs.
I see what you did. You didn't talk about the product, the software. You talked about the result.
You're selling the solution.
Yeah.
Another great alternative is we help businesses verb.
Yeah.
So we help businesses streamline their logistics.
Which immediately hooks the listener because they're thinking, wait, I have logistics problems. Maybe this person can help me.
And just like that, you've turned a boring intro into a compelling pitch.
Okay, now let's flip it. We're inside the company. I'm in the cafeteria and I see someone I don't know. If I walk up and say, I'm with marketing and we specialize in increasing brand awareness.
You are going to sound like a robot.
Right. A weirdo.
Context is everything. For internal intros, the goal isn't to sell, it's to place yourself on the company map.
So we drop the I'm with and the specializing.
Yes. The phrase changes to I'm part of or I work in, referring to your department. Hi, I'm part of the marketing team.
Simple enough.
But again, don't stop there. The sources suggest you add your focus because marketing is a huge team. So you say, I'm part of the marketing team, and my main focus is digital strategy.
My main focus is, I like that. It's much better than I do the tweets.
Right. It creates a professional boundary. It tells your colleague exactly why they should come talk to you. It defines your function.
Okay, so to recap, external is about value, using I'm with. Internal is about function, using I'm part of.
That's a perfect summary.
All right, let's move on. The next layer of complexity. And this is one I know trips up a lot of our listeners. Frankly, native speakers mess this up too. The register shift.
The level of formality.
How do I know if I should be formal or casual? It causes so much anxiety.
It's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And the training materials we looked at are actually quite straight about this. They talk about safe defaults.
Safe default.
Basically, if you're meeting a client or anyone external for the first time, the safe default is always high formality. It's a sign of respect.
So you can always loosen up later, but you can't really tighten up once you've been too casual.
Exactly. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. So the protocol is titles, Mr. or IMS, followed by the surname.
Good morning, Mr. Wilson.
And notice the time of day. Hi or hello can sound a bit dismissive in a first meeting. Good morning, Mr. Wilson has weight. It commands the room.
Now, what's the gold standard response? If he says good morning back,
Pleased to meet you.
pleased to meet you. Now, I want to pause here because one of the linguistic sources had a fascinating point about how we say this.
Mm.
When it's written, it's 4 words. Pleased to meet you. But if you say it like that,
You sound like a navigation system. Pleased to meet you.
recalculating.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Native speakers use something called the schwa. It's this neutral, relaxed vowel sound. In this phrase, the word to isn't pronounced to. It reduces to ta.
Pleased to meet you.
See how that flows? It connects the thought. It sounds effortless. And in business, effortless means confident.
It's funny because a lot of learners try so hard to be correct, they over-enunciate, and it actually ends up hurting them.
It creates distance. You want to sound professional, but you still want to sound human.
Now, let's contrast that. The colleague you see every day. If I walk up to my desk mate and say, good morning, Mrs. Robinson, pleased to meet you.
She's going to ask if you've hit your head or think you're being
Okay.
sarcastic.
Right.
With colleagues, the register shifts completely. You drop the titles, first names only. Hi, Mark. How's it going?
So the rule is clear. New client. Titles. Formal greetings. Known colleague. First names. Casual openers.
Precision is key. And speaking of precision, there were a couple of vocabulary landmines in the common mistakes section of our research.
Oh, I love these. The words that sound right but are definitely wrong.
The big one is personnel versus personal.
They look almost identical.
They do, but the stress changes everything. Personnel refers to staff. The stress is on the end. We have excellent person and LL.
Whereas personal starts with PER.
Right. Personnel, private. I have a personnel appointment. You definitely don't want to tell your boss you have a personnel appointment.
Unless you're going to a meeting about hiring people.
Exactly. But usually you need the dentist. The other one that came up is a fake word people love to use, presentate.
I would like to presentate my idea. I can see why people say it. It sounds logical.
It follows a pattern, but no, it's not a word. The verb is present. The noun is presentation.
Okay, let's banish that one from our vocabulary. Just say present. All right, so we've covered talking about ourselves, but a huge part of networking is being the connector. You're talking to someone, a third person walks up, and awkward. You're the bridge.
And this is a critical leadership skill. If you fumble this, you make everyone uncomfortable. If you nail it, you look like a super connector.
So no pointing and just grunting names.
Definitely not. The polite openers are pretty standard. Let me introduce you to, or I'd like you to meet.
But the magic isn't just in the names, is it?
No, not at all. The magic is in the context. If I just say, John, this is Claire. Claire, this is John. I've created a dead end.
Right. Now they're just staring at each other thinking, okay, now what?
You need to give them a social hook. The expert move is to add a detail that invites a question.
Can you give us an example of a good hook?
Sure. John, this is Claire. Claire will be taking over as the new shop manager next month.
Boom. Now John has something to say. Oh, congratulations. Or you're joining at a busy time.
Exactly. You've done the hard work for them. Or even just, this is Simon, our accountant. It frames the interaction.
You're acting as a social host, basically, smoothing the path for them.
You're reducing the cognitive load for everyone else. And people really appreciate that.
Which brings us to the most dreaded part of any introduction. The moment after the handshake. The silence. Small talk.
The social grooming phase, as they call it.
A lot of people dismiss small talk as just filler, But the research suggests that's a huge mistake.
A massive mistake. Small talk is a trust mechanism. It signals, I am a normal human being. If you skip it, you seem cold and transactional.
But nobody wants to talk about the weather.
And that's fair. But the weather, the traffic, the event itself, these are safe harbors. You start there because they're low risk.
Yeah.
How did you hear about this event is a perfect opener.
Well, you can't stay there forever.
No, you have to pivot. You use pivot questions to move from that general context into professional territory.
What's a good pivot question?
The classic one is, so what line of work are you in?
What line of work are you in? I like that. It sounds sophisticated, but friendly.
Or, how long have you been with your company? And once they answer, this is where the pros really shine. The follow-up.
This is the difference between an interrogation and a conversation.
Exactly. An interrogation is just question, answer. A conversation.
Connects.
It connects. We've got some good scenarios from one of the guides. Let's run through them.
Okay. Scenario A. I ask about your travel. You say, I just got back from New Zealand. The amateur says, oh, cool. And the conversation dies. What does the pro say?
The pro listens for the hook, New Zealand, and asks, wow, what did you see while you were there? Or maybe, did you manage to do a road trip?
You dig for the story.
People love telling their stories. You just have to invite them.
Okay, scenario B. A new job. You tell me I'm still just learning the ropes.
First, great idiom. Learning the ropes is learning the basics. I'd follow up with, so what were you doing before this? Or how are you finding the new role?
You're building a bridge between their past and their present.
Exactly. It shows you're actively listening.
Final one. Scenario C. You mentioned you used to live in Jakarta.
I'm immediately asking, what was it like living there? It's such a simple question, but it opens up a whole conversation.
And suddenly you're not two strangers in suits. You're two people sharing stories.
That's the secret. You don't have to be the most interesting person in the room. You just have to be the most interested person.
I love that. Now, before we wrap up, we have to tease our next deep dive. Because you can have the perfect words, but if your nonverbal signals are off, none of it matters.
Ah, the 738-55 rule.
It sounds like a secret code.
It's from a famous study. It suggests that when we communicate feelings and attitudes, 55% of the message is body language. 38% is your tone of voice.
And the actual words.
That's 7%.
7%. So I'm stressing about I work for versus I'm with, and that's only 7% of the whole thing.
If your arms are crossed and you're looking at the floor, the most perfect grammar in the world isn't going to save you.
We will do a full breakdown of this next time, but for today, what are the absolute non-negotiables?
Okay, first, the handshake. In most Western business cultures, it's essential. It has to be firm. Not a bone crusher, not a wet fish, just firm.
Second,
Eye contact. If you're looking around the room, you're signaling you're looking for someone better to talk to, lock in.
and third,
The smile. It actually triggers a biological response in the other person. They want to smile back. It de-escalates tension immediately.
it all sounds so basic, but when you're nervous, it's the first thing to go.
That's why it's a skill. You
Yeah.
have to practice looking confident, even when you're terrified. Shoulders back, head up, fake it until you become it.
Okay, let's bring this all home. We have covered a lot of ground.
We started with that thin slicing reality. You have seconds to make an impact.
We completely overhauled the elevator pitch. No more boring titles. Use I'm with for authority, and we specialize in to show value.
We talked about the register shift, knowing when to be Mr. Wilson and when to be Mark, and using that schwa sound for pleased to meet you.
We covered introducing others. Always give that social hook so they have something to talk about.
And finally, the art of the pivot and the follow-up question to turn small talk into real connection.
It really is a toolkit, isn't it? You don't use every tool for every job, but just knowing they're there gives you confidence.
And that's what we want for you. So we have a challenge.
A homework assignment.
We want you to craft your 30-second introduction using the formulas we talked about today, the I'm with, and we specialize in.
Write it down, say it out loud, record it on your phone. Does it sound like you?
And if you're brave enough, please share it in the comments section below. We'd love to see the different industries our listeners are in.
We will be reading them. And if you found this deep dive valuable, please do us a huge favor. Like, share, and subscribe to The English Effect. It really helps us keep the show going.
And just remember that final thought on preparation. Confidence is usually just preparation in disguise.
If those elevator doors opened right now, for real, would you be ready?
Find the words now so you can own the moment later.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you in the next one.
Goodbye, everyone.